Hey gang, good morning. It's Ronnie with RC Bassin on my way into work and wanted to do something I haven't done in a while, and it is another episode of Monday Meltdown. Just wanted to take a few minutes of your time to talk about a topic that has been dominating the fishing discussion as of late, and that's Livescope. I think there's probably three different camps of folks when it comes to Livescope. There's those that say, if you ain't scoping, you're hoping. Those that probably use Livescope to a degree, but really depend on their instincts more so than live scoping. And then there are those that just believe that Livescope or Panoptics, whatever you want to call it, is negatively impacting the sport of fishing. Hearing what camp are you in, and what your thoughts are on Livescope. But if you ain't scoping, you're hoping. Transparent. I purchased Livescope this past season for some different reasons. One, I was just curious about the technology. Two, I want to be competitive when I do fish in tournaments. I have fished tournaments with no Livescope at all, just a traditional 2D sonar and some down imaging on my little aluminum boat, and I've beat guys in $80,000 boats with massive amounts of electronics, to include Livescope. But I want to be competitive, right? And I feel like, for me, my personal feelings are, if I'm going to fish a circuit and I'm going to try to be because I'm a competitive person, I want to go out and compete. I want to be competitive, and of course I want to win. But I feel like if I didn't have the technology, then I'm probably going to be beaten by electronics. So those are some of the reasons why I purchased it. And I am not a if you ain't scoping, you're hoping person. Now, that could be because I've only had one season of experience using Livescope, but I don't think that I'm going to allow myself to become that way. There are those that are just adamant that it needs to go away, that it shouldn't be allowed in tournaments, professional tournaments or local tournaments. I've heard a lot of discussion about banning it from tournaments. I have personally not fished a tournament yet where Livescope was banned or not allowed, but it could be coming. And I think you have to be a multifaceted angler, and you have to be able to use your tools to include your electronics, but you also have to trust your instincts and your skills that you develop over time. Now, I went out and fished a couple times last season with Livescope, and again, maybe 5 or 6 times I've used it. I could find fish using the Livescope, but I could also find fish trusting my instincts. And I don't know what was more frustrating, finding the fish and not being able to get them to bite on Livescope, or just casting and potentially having a bad day of fishing and only getting a few strikes, right? Trusting my instincts. What I found was that about 20% of the time I would use my electronics and I would scope. The rest of the time I really relied on my instincts, my knowledge of the body of water I was fishing, the weather conditions, sunlight, the natural forage for the fish, the bait fish. All of those things kind of told me where I should be fishing and how I should be fishing and what I should be using. And I felt like that I was fairly successful on those trips, trusting my instincts, and then also using Livescope to some degree to locate the fish. Now, I will tell you that I'm probably like most fishermen. I prefer, bank fishing, shallow water, up to 12, 15 feet. But I'm trying to up my game and get into some offshore angling in some deeper water. And I do think that there's a benefit to using Livescope in those conditions. But you still have to kind of know where to go. And although Livescope may help you find the fish, it doesn't mean you're going to catch them. Does it negatively impact the sport? I don't know. I think maybe it does to a degree, but you know, you could make the same argument for tournament fishing. Tournament fishing could be impacting fishing in general, the sport of fishing, right? So I think there's a lot of things that you could contribute to negatively impacting the sport of fishing. I don't think Livescope alone is just so detrimental that it is just killing the sport of fishing, right? I don't think just alone on its standing on its own, it's that impactful. I don't like watching, you know, in the off season. I try to watch some of the MLF Bassmaster events on the Outdoor Channel or wherever, and I do like to watch those. I don't like watching people standing on the front of their boat staring at a finder, right, a plotter, live scoping. But I am interested in how they're using it, right? So although I don't prefer to watch them use it, I do because I want to know how they are using it so that I can better use my tools. So to me, Livescope is just another tool in my toolkit to help me be a better angler. But it's not going to necessarily help me catch more fish, because I've already experienced, and probably so have you, you can find the fish using Livescope. That does not mean you're going to get them to bite. And so, you know, there's a lot to be said about, you know, the three camps of folks that you're in. I think I'm in the middle camp, right? I think I'm in the camp of I want to learn more about it. I want to try and use it so that I can continue to be competitive when I fish competitively. But I'm not going to just throw out my instincts and the skills and knowledge that I've gained over time just to go out and live scope all the time, the whole time I'm on the water. I'm certainly not adamantly against a live scope, so I'm not in that third camp, not yet. Anyway, you know, excuse me, I'm struggling with some kind of cold or something. Opinions change over time, you know, as you gain more knowledge and information. So I mean, I could end up in that camp, but I'm definitely not in the first camp of if you're not scoping, you're hoping. So like to hear more about your thoughts on Livescope. You know, what kind of electronic setups you use, how successful are you using your electronics, not using them to include Livescope, which of the three camps that you might be in. So listen, thanks again for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Appreciate all your guys' support to the channel, and until we get to meet again, you can watch these videos that YouTube recommends next. But stay safe out on the water, tight lines, baby, and hook 'em up.